This is Deb Helfrich, hashtag Redheaded She-Hulk. I'm also the founder of the hashtag Wellbeing Philosophy Institute. We're now going to do a little improv performance about channeling Robin Williams. It takes me a while, as in a couple minutes, to just see where we're going to go with this. But this is quite literally me developing a process to become a stand-up comic. Now, not one that flings around a lot of insults, one that is philosophically minded and who's trying to truly guide the world evolvers amongst us in complex, analytically creative thinking. This is one woman monologue, one woman Socratic monologue. Because we've got to learn to model complex thinking. If we want to get past the problems of capitalism and democracy, as I call them, elitist capitalism and privileged democracy. These concepts are not at all about the everyone. They're only about the moneyed elite. Occasionally, you can be a pretty elite. Some exceptions, but then only really pretty and money. It comes hand in hand. We live in this world where adults keep telling each other, well, but we only understand 5th grade reading comprehension. We're constantly telling each other to fix our writing and dumb it down to ourselves so that we spend money quicker. That's exactly what the bullying is about. Make it simple to just pay the credit card. Just market this shit. Make it simple. Tell people how you gonna help them. Nah, y'all need to sit the fuck down and get schooled. Just to remember how much fun it is to use your whole brain, to ask really challenging, complex questions, and stick with it till you understand. What is capitalism? Why is it the successful economic system? It stole labor right from the very start. Now, I asked that question a dozen times to get that crystal clear. But I got that crystal clear, did I not? Capitalism is not the best economic system. It's the one that forces labor for free. The societal life coach over here in the US of Hypocrisy. Now, understand, I'm talking about the industry, no individuals. A couple of my favorite humans in the world are life coaches. I have respect for all the individuals and the profession, but the industry of life coaching. Now, in order to get attention and all of these signals, it's like these people created these sort of quotes and memes and quick ways of solving problems. And they coaches, so they're trying to operationalize winning. Hey, cool. When we've asked all the right questions and we see a future society that really we can all agree on is much, much better for all humans, all 7.8 billion of them, then we get the coaches and they'll figure out how to make the new civilization. But if we just sit around with the same old stinking thinking, insane thinking, that pays $15 to adults for a full-time job, which are like the hardest jobs in the country. We know this, understand, right? All of the jobs that pay low wages are harder than the jobs that buy second houses. That's not all right. No wonder we can't fix homelessness. Homelessness is not an individual problem. No person needs to know. And separate out the people who no longer have the ability to be in psychiatric inpatient hospitals because we let them go extinct. Now, there was some malfeasance and whatnot, but it's really about the money. So if you rich, you can go to a private clinic. But the psychiatric inpatient hospitals for people who have a lot going on, let's just put them in a jail. Let's just leave them on the streets. I myself am currently unraveling a complex enviro-mental illness. My mind, we can't keep on with this diagnoses model. It's 7.8 billion different human brains. Now in biology, we're getting skin wrong. All skin is skin. And so a cut is treated the same way, regardless of whether you're full of melanin or you're really deficient in melanin. Cut is a cut is a cut. But a brain experiences hydrogen peroxide on cut being painful, and that can't be right. Let me tell you something. I am human potential when it comes to optimizing human health. We were marketed to with the hydrogen peroxide, y'all. It damages all the skin around it. So there is some little tiny bit of disinfecting, but it kills the surrounding skin. It prolongs the time it takes for wounds to heal. So maybe it was the Band-Aid companies, like, throw on another Band-Aid. It's not, I don't know who, it's not like we have a big hydrogen peroxide lobby. Well, where did this all come from? I got it from my mom. She's a pediatric nurse. But do the research. Honey, do the experiment as I've done. Honey heals wounds. I barely buy a Band-Aid. Only if, and it's typically once every 5 years, it's cutting a finger with a knife, and I need the pressure to really stop the bleeding. But anything else, just put some honey on it. It started to heal. One night with a Band-Aid, so I'm not, smushing around honey and blood, and it. Occasionally, I don't have the attention span to cut my toenails. Every now and again, I'm just sort of, I don't know, but it actually is with my skin is very dry. And so in the winter and, everything happening. So wounds on, my feet heal quick. It's mostly like the paper cut, sort of. It's not like I cut with the toenail clippers. It's more just like, sort of, as I'm getting in position, it's sort of like the edge that will clip the toenail sort of serrates the skin. I should really have been much more specific about that, because it's just like the paper cut model. Your hands. My feet are also quite like that sensitively, and it is, that I cut myself into bleeding. It's that little serration. It's that I don't position it well. I'm not paying attention. Position 5 times. toenail clip once. Robin Williams, eh? Just go and go and go and go and go and go and go. It's in my opinion, a brainwave state. And it is so pleasurable to just go. Whatever comes out of my mouth is full of love, intentionally. And other people do take it wrong, but I got the power to deal with it. And it's amazing how much people will apologize for being offensive before they say anything. And it's amazing how much time goes into all of this. Like, okay, I know we're all sheep, but say something. Just say it. Say it. Saying things truthfully. Why are we all so personality sensitive? I mean, I'm physiologically sensitive. I'm extraordinarily sensory perceptively sensitive. I don't get all this non-offensive over. So for quite some time, we've unsuccessfully managed to move forward on how to get discovered with non-comics. So we're trying to get into Robin Williams mode. See if Robin Williams has an answer for me. Nanu. Yes, it happened the last time we nanu, didn't it? I think the fingers are getting better. Oh, look at this, y'all. This finger is very straight. This one, we not as much so. And this was the one that hurt carrying the groceries back today from our 5-mile walk. Is holding the sack that, see, look at that. Look at this pinky on my right. It's I mean, I can make it stay there. It doesn't want to be there. This hand's perfectly fine. See, I would have thought it was my left hand. This is my left hand. The left hand's a good one. See, again, there it goes. Yeah. So that was I tested if I could do it. But look at that. I can stick lefty out, but righty is this one does not have, doesn't want to play along. It's impinged somewhere. Because literally, you see how this is definitely got a curve. This one had, there goes the curve. See, so right up close, but it's also really, it's not. I mean, I think it was much more pronounced. So there's the curve. Part of what dims our brain, not just as we age, but just like even longitudinally across our day, is pain signals from our body. And pain, like, I don't know what you mean by pain, right? We've got this 4-letter word, pain. Burning, pricking, tingling. There's so many sensations. There's so much different intensity. And, the pain of like cold is actually more intense than the pain of burning, insofar as there's like a threshold, like ice cold is always like similarly painful. And it's more painful than just moderate heat. But there is a place where, I don't think I even know what burn is. I don't have any patches of skin that didn't recuperate burn. Because I don't like the, always learning those sensory lessons about what harms me. But pain, dull aches. How do we end up with so few words for pain? In the English language. There's the movie Smilla's Sense of Snow, and how, the Inuit, and I don't know, I don't know any more specifically. Trying to get you details from the movie, but so it's just the people in the Arctic, the Inuit, would have all kinds of different words describing different states of snow. This is brain dysfunction. This is brain dysfunction. I want you to not be able to hear me. Brought on by the prison of language. English minds think differently than Zulu minds. I'm spending my early mornings listening to Eddie Izzard as she runs marathon after marathon every day in January on a treadmill. And simultaneously, I'm over on the Tweeter having a deep philosophical discussion and learning that a number of languages don't have gender pronouns. No he or she, separately. There's a Turkish, and then Chinese, and then Swahili came up, and a Swahili speaker said, I can verify that. And Deb looks for Zulu and Yoruba. No gendered pronouns. I knew that. I knew pronouns was a rarity, because I had a few little lessons this summer. So if 3 of the major languages, and I don't know if you know this, but Kiswahili is maybe the common African Union language. I know this from a Kenyan friend. So everything about my act and my comedy, when you have enough time to catch up with me, is about migration, is about evolutionary logic, is all about migrating. This is the part of our own species that we are have atrophied the sense of. But really, the reason there's 7.8 billion of us is there's like a genetic imperative to migrate or to nest or to settle. There are different archetypes of people. Redheads are migrants, I'm telling you right now. Well, let me be clear. There are, my sort of redhead is what's called a genetic polymorph, who comes from two parents with black hair. Not a direct ancestral lineage, not direct hereditary trait. So there are communities of redheads. So I found some great places in Scotland and stay here in Ireland, all green and everything complementary to our complexions. So boom. And then there's some hereditariness spreading the genes in that way. But red hair just comes every now and again to two parents with black hair. That's why I often say I'm 2/3 African. Red hair and freckles are such early adaptations of humanity that they occurred before any human ever migrated off the continent of Africa. How can I say this? Separate out the pale skin, which is a newer evolutionary model when we started figuring out how to stay warm as we went latitudinally northward into much cooler climates. We needed the technology of clothes, furs, animal pelts. We needed the technology of building materials, whether that was even just finding a cave, creating mud huts. We had to have come to that place of having those as technologies. Because it's just gotten too cold as you start basically hitting France. Forget about the UK. I'm going to do an aside here. This is completely, you're going to have to trust me on this. Do this a lot better. This is sort of like saying A, B, Y, Z. Okay? I'll come back in and fill in all the premises and everything in the bit. Well, white people, whiteness is a handicap. And the explanation for why Northern European white men is so fucked up, and then they spread all that fucked upness through colonialization because it just so happened, all that fucked upness, which is fear-based. But an interesting way to look at it, like really, how did things get so messed up? White people got Stockholm syndrome stuff. We needed buildings, shelter, clothes. And we started investing ourselves in the importance of these things, which it was. We're getting colder and colder and colder. The migration that happened this way stayed in much more temperate regions for longer. And then that new group of migrants went into the Himalayas, went into the various places. So there are definitely, but really at a certain point, we just didn't go north of Africa, across the Mediterranean, across the English Channel. It was just easier to go this way. And of course, African civilizations always went on rollabout. That's where the redhead. So, again, well, if you're telling me it's coming from black hair, it can also come from not straight black hair. The genetic polymorphic aspects of being red-haired. And red hair didn't happen after paleness. Red hair is on the continent of Africa today. The current princess of Morocco could be my sister. And there are redheads in Papua New Guinea. How'd that happen? Africans went on rollabout. The Hawaiian Islands, where do people come from? Because we would now say indigenous. Well, people didn't just grow up elsewhere. Everyone came from Africa. So what land bridge got you to Hawaii, Tahiti, Pacific Islands in general? Well, Africans have been going on rollabout longitudinally, far, far longer than where they decided to go. They had the whole continent of Africa. Why would they go up into the colder environments? And this is, of course, why. Spain and Portugal being closer, and Greece to Egypt. Some of these places are what, in the current messed up counting of history, from the Stockholm Syndrome, the Northern European white men, we think antiquity is, the Greeks and Romans. Well, that was, that was how far the Africans was willing to go and hang out, create civilizations for quite some time. Well, they found the Americas. Africans did. Oh, freaking Columbus, man, that freaking racist country at the time. Portugal, what have they done for us lately? They certainly basically created racism. And this comes from Ibram X. Kendi's scholarship. This is not Deb. Go read his article on, it's an excerpt from the book. You can find it on LitHub. It's about Henry the Navigator of Portugal. But I want to go earlier than that. The Incas, Mayas, the Aztecs. Land bridge only? Why don't they have more Asiatic features? They're Africans who went rowabout and then stuck around and evolved. And some Africans, because coming to the Americas, North, Central, South, and creating the indigenous tribes, as we looking from history from that perspective, but they were African migrants on rowabout. And those ropes, it's so far away. As in, again, the Pacific Island chains. They had to have been so successful that they could figure out how to row back to get word to more people should come, because these were big, huge, important civilizations. It wasn't just like a, Swiss Family Robinson situation. There had to have been back and forth, transatlantic rowing. Think about this. Africa always had my back. So I like to tell stories that show how absolute precious so many humans in our shared Homo sapiens sapiens DNA pool, they were crazy smart without any tech needed. And now we crazy dumb because of the tech. The tech is stealing our attention spans. And that's what this act, in all its complexity, in all of its fast pace, using the tools of philosophy to try and make valid premises from this and this and this. I've said something kind of unconventional, and I'm going to go ahead and say something else that I think helps you see the context of the truth, the validity of what I just said. Validity, not truth, in philosophy is what we're going for. Truth is sort of subjective. I mean, we act as though there's one truth, but who can handle the truth of how diseased we are as citizens of the US of hypocrisy? I mean, I lived a morbidly obese life for 49 years. A whole development. was off on this crazy 1 in 7.8 billion to be the fattest person in every room. And then in 50 to wake up and shout, I'm going to know what it feels like to be lean. And put it on video, save it on a Zoom, record it on a voice recorder, and then make it happen. I did not just dial down my calories and lose 150 pounds. Thought it into being. Then I was a wise steward of the process. I figured out how to navigate the certainty that I could live in a lean body and that there would be this creative outlet. The brain that was locked inside that Michelin woman body because nobody could keep up with it even as a very young child. That's what it was. This brain put itself in suspended fat preservation mode or something like that. And I know what I'm talking about. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I don't know if there's an English word for what I'm talking about. I make a nice big pot of chili. I like to really, put in enough butter to get the onions all nice and starting in the caramelization. There will tend to be a layer of fat on the chili. When there is a layer of fat across the top of the pot of chili, that forms a seal. What allows food to go bad is oxygen and predominantly water-based oxygen. The more water content any food has, the more likely and quickly it will go rancid. Fruit and veg, for instance, how much water? All high percentage waters. Fat. As anyone with a cast iron skillet and a coffee can of grease will tell you, when the fat goes rancid, now again, you can go up in the smoke temperature if you smoke the oils and things like that. But most of what causes the cooking oil fats to go rancid are the food bits. So they're again much more full of water and amino acids and things that's the bacteria breaks down. Bacteria's not lipophilic, hydrophilic. Bacteria is not fat loving and it's water loving. And it's the conditions of water and air and protein, amino acid breaking down. That's what makes food go off. So I am trying to say, I'm like a big old great pot of chili that's like just marinating up a storm. And I do keep pots of chili for 3-4 months. I'm not joking with you. I mean, it is a pandemic, y'all. Needs must, right? And I've been fasting. So, I make this once and heat it up every now and again, bring it to a boil. Then there's enough of a fat cap. It just isn't going bad. This is adaptation in action. Mentally going through and talking you into the scenarios of how to think more about your world, how to think about demolishing racism, how to think about our new relationship to getting food in, to going out on a constant, or to making things last, understanding the principles of the science of real life in a way that you can become a MacGyver of adaptation to these. It's just going to be nothing but ever changing. We've gotten so soft, so used to things just being magically on our doorstep. A lot of harm going to be happening. I myself have had to go through an immense amount of harm to keep doing this work, getting good at it. It really is fascinating. The conversational level, I love you humans. But so far, I can't find nearly none of you who I'm asking for help have the attention span to let me sort of fully contextualize the help that I need. And I'm always rushing, and then I'm always like prevaricating, well, maybe just help me. No, I got to have somebody who sees what it is I'm doing, who's willing to then make that bio level quick explanation. So I don't have to keep going, well, I'm the she Socrates, the she Sherlock, the she Einstein. I'm mostly the Bixby, but then I get all Lou Ferrigno, just drawing bridge after bridge after bridge. I'm Dave Chappelle's soulmate. And this is about channeling Robin Williams. I just used to be like, and this is very specifically, I think about some appearances, maybe just on Carson and Letterman. It seems like it should have been Letterman, but in my mind it's Carson. But just on and connecting this and connecting that, and do it just this ties to this, ties to this, ties to that, this ties to this, ties to this, ties to that, this ties to this, ties to this, ties to that. Except I'm doing about it the human body, where we originally got the song, the knee bone connects to the. No, we have gotten mental health completely and utterly wrong, and I gotta explain it to you that biology is a standard thing, and I'm in cut in all skin around the globe. It's pretty much going to work the same. There are some variations, and there is definitely localization needed for some situations with different varying kinds of melanin quotients, right? So much of the adverse chronic disease burden of African Americans is because the main cities of our, you'd be all right in Florida, maybe slightly in Atlanta, but just literally the amount of sunlight that hits most places across this entire continent, it's too far north for most shades to get an optimal dose of vitamin D. Vitamin D is not the only component of sunlight that powers human thought. Sunlight is a biochemical process, and it really goes down. Bioelectricity is human thought, and we can transduce energy from the sun through the melanin on our skin. Freckles. The melanin. Very nearly every kind of life has melanin. Birds, mammals, giraffes. Freckles and giraffe patterns. Very, very conceptually identical melanin attributes. So melanin is not just something that Black people have. All of life has melanin. And so melanin is about the optimal latitude on the globe where you live. Nothing else really. Now, the latitude that you live changes your culture. You live in an equatorial region. You don't really need furs and clothes. You don't really need to build really insulated shelters. Only as you go north, 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 and your skin's going to get lighter from a number of variables. You're literally, the curve of the earth decreases the amount of usable sunlight. Then you're inside more because it's colder and there's more seasonality. In all those three big main variables, it's three of them. All three of them. Because it's, again, well, what longitude and what altitude then did you go latitudinally? Like, look at that. The XYZ axis, it's always that third variable can really take you out of either or. This tension of, most assuredly, the US of hypocrisy in a pandemic. It's tension of, it's got to be either or. There's no other thing. And then transitioning into if, then, therefore. I've got these little bits, and they come up, they come down, they come in, they come out. If I had a topic, if I had a niche audience, I think I'm getting pretty good at delivering the theory of everything in a swim lane, such as channeling Robin Williams. Showing you in my own genre of philosophy and human physiology, because I've experienced my own evolution of human potential. Body is getting thinner and thinner and thinner, and the mind is just working so optimally. The person continues to be utterly isolated from humanity in being able to dance at the speed of my brain conversationally. Even as I try to, and I think I'm dialing it down, and I watch my film and I dialed it down. I only feel right now that my tribe are stand-ups on stage. The question was posed to me, are they different? And I think the person was trying to get to me that, like, they don't act like stand-up comics with their family. I'll bet they do, to a certain extent. I think you lose it. I think you can't be. I mean, that again, you got Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld don't need to leave a chaise lounge for the rest of his life. He keeps, like, driving around getting coffees. He so needs to be with comics. Why he need to be with comics that bad? He and I mean, he could just, pay for them to perform for him and everything. But he probably likes to watch his own film. Probably likes to, the conversational aspect, the Socratic dialoguing of comics together. If Robin Williams knew this was on the place, right? If Robin Williams could see me becoming, he might have stuck around. And because I think he actually did see the potential that this brain state is human potential. It's a faster amplitude, and it is a different hertz of brainwaves. I truly, truly believe this. Truly believe that ultimately my philosophical hypothesis of bioelectricity, it's gamma brainwaves. And I think, Dispenza knows that. I'm not aware of anyone else really truly getting it. And I don't think he's ported that backwards into some of my own proprietary philosophical work, such as being a little redheaded girl who gets to grow up to give Sigmund Freud vagina envy. Because I have a better definition of the human subconscious. Because here's a question for all these neuroscience geeks. I mean, they'll just sit there. They go on. By they, I mean Stephen Kotler, and then just a bunch of life coaches. But Stephen Kotler is the main person I talk to about stream of consciousness and flow states and trance. And transient hypofrontality. Ain't no transient going on here. This is permanent hypofrontality. And hyper subconscious. I can't. It's a triune brain and all these parts and blah 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 blah. Well, we're not talking about the speed. We're not talking about the hertz of the vibration all that much in combination. Because there's all these things. Well, this is the part of the brain that works, but you have to be awake when they do brain surgery because they can't be really sure. Like they have the map of the terrain. It doesn't really tell you how we think. In the 1 + 1 = 2 model, we keep saying, well, this is the part of the brain that this happens in. Except if you look at the other random parts, like it's just more complex than they're willing to admit now because they've mapped it out. But I got 2 questions for these brain neuroscience peoples that I don't hear them asking themselves. Where's the subconscious? If brain mapping is all that there is, where's the subconscious? And where are our memories? Tell me different kinds of memories. Where are they stored? I know. It's like I know a better definition of the subconscious. Subconscious comes out to play when we are in trance, when we're in flow. So that's sort of transient hypofrontality. It doesn't work. And it's not anywhere near as linear as again, Kotler is learning all the time, but let's just say in Stealing Fire, in the models from that book, I don't think he's right there on the hertz, the electromagneticness of it all, that everything is frequency, that we are not particles, we're vibration, that our cells have little tuning forks on their membranes. He doesn't think where he's at, and he's got his map and he goes forth on the map, but I can do a different mind map. It explains where the memories are. It explains the subconscious as being the state of hypermemory, being an idiot savant. Savant syndrome is a really extraordinary memory capacity for sometimes math, sometimes verbal acuity, which I got a little bit of. Sort of Oscar Wilde-y, I'm going all, a little Oscar Wilde. So, and then the was, Stephen Fry was talking to Eddie Izzard on the treadmill the other day. It's just like when I used to have breakfast with Cedric the Entertainer. It was talking about my tweeting strategy because I'm trying to be the next Bernie Mac. I mean, for original Kings of Comedy and one newest Redheaded comedy, that's an Odd Couples. But I do think, I think the fact that I can't believe Bernie Mac died so young. And Bernie Mac had just such a poodle. I watched it, I don't know, May, June, something like that. The original Kings of Comedy. And I don't know. I think Steve Harvey. But then it was Bernie. So the way Spike did it, right? And it's not like Sad and DL was, but it was the entrainment of the audience that just, I've seen Sad and DL be less, I think they were just too polished. They had their sets just, they were down doing the work, right? Because it's all film and, they weren't in comic trance, which can follow the script and outline and where you get to go and stuff and so forth. And I don't know, did Steve and Bernie, were they in trance? Could we get Steve Harvey on the She's Socrates phone? Have a dialogue about, I don't know. It certainly felt like Bernie Mac was in trance. And he just, some of them, he just was using sound to get laughs. Like mumbling sound. It's it was like this extra the audio booths, and you've got all these dials and levers, and it was like Bernie Mac was just he's like sliding this bass and swishing this equalizer and pushing. He was scat. Don't just me on Black culture. During the 50 years of my life, I don't really, history. I'm not so. And what's fascinating to me, so this is again about being an elder savant, an idiot savant of can't even say Black culture, because I'm such an introvert. So it's sort of screen adjacent, except for when I was in college, when I was dialed in. But that's the only time I was ever dialed into any human community. So for the most part, really, truthfully. So, I have this deep dive that I always wanted to return to, and now I'm trying to stay alive and inventing movie treatments called Londolozy. protector of all living things. And my Zulu name, self-given, because I was writing a treatment for a movie and you gotta give a but no, my Zulu name is Mzile. You are responsible for what you become. Which is fascinating, is it not? What have I become? I'm responsible for this, driving this brain-body combination. I'm responsible for learning how to contextualize it so that y'all let me get going. You got to stick around, and you can't. The conversations people want, conversations. There is like quite literally expectations in their brain. And I'm trying to do my work so they understand how to help me best, to try to do everything at once. And my capacity to be like Bernie Mac, scattity scat scat. Some of them, bitch. I don't know. Imitations, I still think are out in my horizon in this documentary of how Deb learned to channel Robin Williams. She describes why Bernie Mac is the original king of comedy she cannot forget. That is anti-racism in action. I can learn the art and the science of stand-up comedy at 50. I can't get a single person on this planet to help me. I just want to keep giving advice. Keep saying things in socially acceptable ways, which just wastes so much time. We're trying to get to the brand new. We're trying to get to the invention. We're trying to get to like there's nothing transient about my hypofrontality. But there's also my morality. So again, from Kotler, who's saying, study the Navy SEALs and some of these things, and some of like the judicialness and the morality and the executive functions, right? And just take it like there are all time. I'm not processing time the way other humans do. Like weeks are like basically like an afternoon. The week by your calendars and your watches, it's like I can achieve about an afternoon's worth. It's not just work, but like living. There's an inconsistent. So in all of this goodness, and me like going, it's this great thing. There are these boundaries to it. Now, I'm also now going to be like, you got another hour, because I'm gonna drop something here on you that is the I know it is complex, but it helps all of us learn more about being human. I don't expect you to just go like, oh yes, you are so right. What I expect is to go over this stuff again and again and again. is to bring it in as a valid premise from this angle and this angle and this angle. I'll triangulate, triangulate every crazy thing I say. And if you're not biomechanically geeking out, if you're a neuroscience person, or if you're more of a mental health situation, that's where you're coming, your frameworks, your perception. We've got some people who are biomechanical and others who are mental health, neurodiversity, always looking for it being something different, but there's 7.8 billion unique brains. They all function A-okay. There are very, 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 very few people who really have a disordered brain such that they need around-the-clock care. These psychiatric hospitals do need to be there. And why that person is at that intense state is the unhealedness of their childhood trauma or neglect. We all have these tendencies to get really, really excited about what we really, really love. But then at a certain point, we start diagnosing mania. We all have this capacity to be really, really sad at the human condition. Really, really unable to face the harm that we're doing. Then we start diagnosing depression. What I can do is have a dialogue with my own subconscious about my own homeodynamic balance and embodying what depression feels like. This is a shift I can do. And then there is embodying what mania feels like. Oh, shift up into this sort of brainwave. It's just very high energy, very thrilled and delighted. On and on and on and on and on. These things are not problems. They're part of the human condition. Where it becomes a problem is when you've built a society where the human has to go sit in cubicle captivity for 40 hours every week, and then drive an Uber for all their spare time, and then be only having calories from fast food places and not getting any sleep, and be notification here, pinging there, blah, 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 blah. This is the problem. The environment of our human civilization, the toxicity from over-industrialization and rampant commercialization and elitist capitalism, all of these unintended consequences are harming humans' abilities to trust their innate nature. And we're all becoming fearful of petrochemical scents in our personal grooming products, dryer sheets. So I don't have to say a brand name and worry about. We're all human consumings these days. We're so far from human beings. We've gone past human doings in many, many ways. We're human consumings. We've got to come back to being fully human, to seeing human potential clearly, to seeing that diseases now just pop up every new year. There's new diseases because the drug makers figure out a way to sell you a pill for the rest of your life. Again, it's not in the genes. Like a small percentage are actual genetic diseases. The vast monopoly of cancers and heart diseases, and they're happening because of environmental triggers. Not a person. Oh, we don't put the blame on the person. How do you need to live near a power converter line and have a toxic live downstream in the river of a tannery, and have a new underpass being constructed 3 blocks away, one between you at the other side of you from a major highway? How much toxicity can a human keep taking? That's the question. Because we're looking right now, we're being assured, it's not 5G. Well, are we testing 5G in a Faraday cage? Are we all living in Faraday cages? Just 5G is the tipping point of all this chemical nonsense. It's really poisoning us. So I'm the hashtag redheaded She-Hulk. It was mold, and the mold basically adapted to changes in the Pacific Northwest building materials, and it's behind all the walls. It's really very pervasive. And depending on everything else that the people going on, I can see it. I can see the difference in the people here in my community and the way their brains work. It's subtle, and it's not mine to go around trying to diagnose everything. But yeah, it's and there's a mildew, so it might be some of this much more minor stuff is probably just some of the airborne mildew, not the full-on mold. But then I notice it because the mold and the mildew, and you can barely say them separately. So they travel together, and the mildew is nowhere near as like toxically intense, but your body's always making patterns. The pattern is in the mildew smell. So there's this whole thing where they say people lying about the mold because you can't smell it. It's the mold and mildew that travel together, as microorganisms so often do. It's the whole microbiome of critters that are mostly helping our body. They're definitely the offshoring of many of our biological functions. And then that's where things go wrong. Robin Williams channeling. You see, there's dials. We've got immune systems, we've got microbiomes, we've got blood pressure, we've got blood plasma, we've got brain impulses going through nerves, afferent and efferent nerves. Yay, 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 yay. The circuitry, the bioelectricity of our body is what we're missing as we're coming at all this. So I've been trying to LinkedIn chat comment with Naveen Jain of Viome, and he's saying I can make chronic disease optional by selling you gut bugs. It's true. 1 + 1 = 2. But if we can sell placebo tools to deal with the mental aspects of literally the physiological transmission of your brain and heart impulses, not just through your nerves, but around your whole biofield, then yeah, chronic disease is, at that point, completely optional. And what it is, of course, is you'd start to trend, and then you just do some do-it-yourself quality of life interventions. Cannabis is brilliant. Optimizing your endocannabinoid system helps bring homeodynamic balance. And it's everything it is again. All these systems. And is your liver optimal, and your pancreas, and what's going on with your lungs, and is your diaphragm locked in some way? Did you, fall down and slip in the winter and your hip is all off and you haven't noticed that your gait is different? When you have a physical injury, you compromise your bioelectricity. This is sort of what aging happens. And it can be both injury, but also the inflammation of bad biochemical processing. It can be, again, all of the toxins, poor nutrition. It can be over-exercise. It can be under-exercise. It can be, we're obsessed with this like one cause and effect diagnosis and here's a pill. To be good stewards of our own body, we gotta look at all these things, and we can't be making decisions. You can't follow some diet from some person you've never met. What do they know about your nutritional state right now? When you're following these standard diets, where's the data coming in about where you're at nutritionally? Overfed, underfed is basically the only variable that they're kind of looking at. Sometimes it's, under-muscled and over-muscled occasionally. Sometimes it's like, well, we got to be worried about the salt for the blood pressure. We got to be worried about the sugar for the insulin. Yes, 1 + 1 = 2. We can find those pathways and see that. Why do we overeat? With so much at stake in our society for being fat. If it was a simple motivational willpower thing, we wouldn't keep having more and more and more overweight. We just wouldn't have that condition. So what's going on? Why do we overeat? We're going to wrap this up right now. Tie this all together into a Socratic monologue. We overeat because fat is perfect human nutrition. It's onboard perfect human nutrition for humans who are too old to have breast milk. Okay, so you put on the pantry. Why would your body put on a pantry 100 extra pounds, 200 extra pounds? What on earth would make a body want to carry around 200 extra pounds? Practically, that body is preparing to migrate far. Why is the body preparing to migrate far? Because the conditions in your near-in environment keep you in constant fear. That's chronic disease in a nutshell. Constant fear, stress. In the US of hypocrisy, it can all come down to money. It can all come down to the competition for jobs. It can all come down to the fact that the elite have everyone else locked up in all these games of categorizing and fighting amongst each other for no slice of the goddamn pie. Capitalism steals labor, always has. It is a Ponzi scheme like none other. Social media is capitalism's bullhorn these days, and it's a Ponzi scheme. That's why it's just me, myself, and I. Deb Helfrich, De La Soul Lover, over and out. Harmony, y'all.